Happy to be back here. See, I had a chance with Rick to tour the new facilities. Very impressive. Try to get to each of our campuses once per season, if I can. So I've been looking forward to this visit to see all the great development going on here.
Is this the first time you've seen all this?
Yes. I mean, I'd seen the plans and been here to talk to Rick when it was a vision, but I know I was looking forward to being back here and seeing it actually done. We're almost done.
Right.
I know, still putting some finishing touches on things.
What was it that stood out to you and impressed you the most as you walked through it?
Well, the focus on the student athlete. I think that's probably the most impressive thing from my perspective. You know, I get a chance to visit all of our campuses and I see all the facility development going on and what Colorado's built here is state of the art. Compares very well with everything else that I've seen in the conference. I think if you're a student athlete thinking about coming here, you realize there's a big commitment to football, to the student athletes, and it's really well done.
How far behind do you think Colorado was before this in terms of their facilities?
You know, things have been changing pretty rapidly within the conference. I mean, it's been, since I've been here 6 years, almost every one of our schools has gone through a pretty dramatic transformation in terms of their football facilities and facilities for student athletes. So it's been a pretty rapidly changing landscape. So the gap was noticeable in terms of what Colorado had here before, but they're absolutely right at speed and comparable with anything we've got in the conference now.
Watching Colorado this season, how have you seen their improvement as a team this year?
Well, I think top to bottom, I mean, the conference is much deeper. You know, when I talk to the coaches and I visit, I mean, there's a sense that, you know, there's going to be no easy games, no easy wins in the conference. That wasn't necessarily the case a couple of years ago. So I think there's been steady improvement throughout the conference. But the problem for all teams is everyone else is getting better too. But I think we've got an unprecedented level of depth and competitiveness in the conference right now.
When we saw you at the Pac-12 meetings, media day, you expressed some optimism in negotiations with AT&T and getting that settled or moving forward in that. Where are you now?
Well, as I anticipated, we did engage with AT&T once they took over ownership of DirecTV. It was kind of a fresh set of discussion that ensued. But we ended up being very disappointed that DirecTV wasn't willing to carry our network on the same terms as everyone else. They ultimately made a proposal to us, which our schools rejected. DirecTV and really AT&T was asking for a very aggressive set of things from our schools that they weren't prepared to do. So we're disappointed.
So do you see that ever getting done?
Oh, ever's a long time. Yeah, I think at some stage we will, because we've got great schools, great brands, football, basketball very strong, and I think ultimately the consumers that get the Pac-12 networks love it, want it, but it doesn't appear that anytime soon it's going to happen.
What is AT&T's issue with accepting the terms that the others have accepted?
Oh, you'd have to ask them, but they asked for things financially and otherwise from our schools that our schools are just uncomfortable with.
From your perspective, obviously you want to see parity in the conference, but is it kind of tough to see the conference cannibalize itself sometimes?
Yeah, you know, you can't control which of the schools are going to emerge amongst the core, but as a commissioner, I really like seeing a level of competitiveness and depth. I think the hallmark of any strong league is a level of parity, and then you hope, of course, there'll be one or two teams that rise above and have big national non-conference wins and have a chance to compete for the playoff. And right now, I think we're pretty well situated. You know, we've got some teams that could emerge Pac-12 champion, either undefeated or with one loss, and I think we'd have a pretty strong case. If that were the case, we could also have a situation where, you know, all of our teams 2 or 3 losses. So very hard to predict at this stage because every week's a new adventure in this conference.
Even with the AT&T negotiations finishing the way they did, how do you feel about the status of the network right now?
Aside from that, I feel great about the status of the network. We've got over 70 different distributors, 850 live events. Those that get the network love it. The level of behind-the-scenes access, level of exposure to our events, that's really unprecedented. Just doing everything we hoped it would do. We won't be satisfied, however, until every satellite, cable, telco subscribers got access to it.
Do you still like that ownership model where the conference owns it completely?
I do long term. I think in this world with a rapidly changing media landscape and over-the-top options, technology companies getting involved, owning your own content will give us great advantages going forward.
Larry, is there ever a time when you're not thinking about expansion?
Oh, I don't think, right now, I'm not really thinking about expansion.
But are other schools bugging you about it? Saying, hey, you want us?
Yeah, every few months we'll get contacted by someone just to keep them on our radar screen, so to speak, but it's not something we've been actively thinking about for a while. I think we're going to be settled in Pac-12 in a very solid way for a while.
You're good with 12?
12's worked out great for us.
Is there a way with your current agreements, if you were to expand, that it expands the revenue to the conference?
Yeah, we've got flexibility in our agreements. That's our decision if we want to expand. So TV agreements would go along with it if we expand.
You think most other conferences are worried about it? Is that just the way college football is right now?
I don't hear any of the big conferences worried about it. I mean, the only one of our peer conferences I heard even talking about it would have been the Big 12 last year after getting shut out of the playoff. There was some soul searching that went on about whether they needed to be at 12, have a championship game like all the others. But that's calmed down.
You've seen a lot since you've been commissioner.
Lots happened. It's been a very, very dynamic landscape, yeah. But I like the way we're positioned nationally. We're in great shape.
It's a lot to shepherd in and manage.
It's been fun. Pac-12's in a great place.
Nevada's just outlawed fantasy sports in their state. How do you see fantasy sports impacting college athletics and the Pac-12?
Well, the biggest concern we've got is over college games, using the likeness of student athletes and the whole dynamic of fantasy gaming around college sports. We wish that didn't exist, and we've lobbied the two big fantasy gaming companies to not do a college game. I think they're still intending to do college games, but they've been willing to engage in a discussion with the NCAA and the conferences about how it's done to avoid jeopardizing the amateur status of student athletes, putting student athletes in peril of eligibility, things of that nature. So that's been our area of concern. Aside from that, we leave it up to the federal government and other governments to decide the legality of it or not. That's not really our business.
Any moves in compensation for the athletes?
We are firmly opposed to compensation for student athletes above the cost of attendance. So we've done a lot in our conference over the last year to significantly add value to the scholarship and the conditions for student athletes. Our student athletes now have the ability to get the full cost of attendance covered, not just room, board, books, tuition. A lot more support for meals, of nutritional support for student athletes, medical support, academic support. So we've really ratcheted up the value and the cost of support to student athletes. But we're firmly opposed to crossing that line and compensating them.
Scholarship still year by year?
No. In our conference, scholarship cannot be taken away. So that's another important change that's been made for student athletes in our conference. The idea of multi-year grants, once a scholarship's awarded, can't be taken away.
How recent is that?
We passed that last year, so it started going into place this year.
Streaming options like HBO and Showtime, does that make you guys rethink maybe the model a little bit?
Yeah, the model's changing dramatically. I think we'll be sitting here 5 years from now with us having many more options than the traditional cable, satellite, or telco companies. The technology companies in the part of the world where we're based, the West Coast, are all looking at this. So I'm excited about that because I think it'll open up more different options for our fans to be able to access Pac-12 networks on whatever device they want. It's still in development, the models and how it would work. It's one of the reasons I like owning our own network. We'll be nimble, we'll be flexible, we'll have the ability to adapt.
Do you see an a la carte day? I'm a fan. I don't want to pay for the Pac-12 network, but I want to watch the SC Notre Dame game.
It's hard to say. All the people I talk to think we're more likely to get to more different types of packages and what they call skinny bundles before pure a la carte, which might be easier for the consumer.
Thanks a lot, Larry.
Thanks very much.